Hello and welcome back to X-Plane 11. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. I say in this video, hopefully you'll join me for quite a few videos here, because today I'm going to be reviewing, today and in the next video and probably the next video and maybe the next video after that, I'm going to be reviewing this. This is the brand new Just Flight BAe 146 Professional, or I suppose if you want to call it the Avro RJ and whatever series they are, it's probably also that, because I believe they are identical aircraft. It's just when one company moved to another or was bought out by another. So I'm going to be reviewing this now. Because this is a professional aircraft, this is going to be a very, very long, in-depth review. So normally I have a review that is maybe two videos. So nothing too crazy, but I think with this one it is going to be a minimum of 3 videos, and each video is going to be pretty lengthy. This video could probably go on for 35-40 minutes depending on what we actually have. So just to give you an overview of how the reviews are going to go, so you know what I'm going to be doing and when to tune in. I'm going to be talking about the price of this aircraft, the specs of the aircraft in terms of what the system specifications are, what is included in the package, the detail of the functionality of the aircraft, so how in depth it is, and then we will be taking a look at modelling, texturing. I'll also do a flight deck tour of this aircraft so we can get familiarised with the actual aircraft operation in this video. In the next video, I will be starting up the aircraft, and we're probably going to be doing a taxi, takeoff and climb out. And then in the third part, we will be doing a landing or a cruise, landing, final thoughts, and then I'll see what happens after that. So that is the order of things. Make sure you stay tuned. And after the intro, we'll start talking a little bit more in depth about one of Just Flight's latest products. Right, so first of all, we're still doing the orbit around the aircraft. I thought whilst I'm talking for some of it, we'll get to see the aircraft in all its glory and what it looks like. So this is, as I said, the 146 Professional for X-Plane 11. Comes in at £55, so it is not a cheap aircraft. That is something to bear in mind. However, and this is really neat, there is a demo version of this aircraft available, which has some of the systems, allows you to do some of the flying. Just to give you an idea, it is the 146-100 in the demo. Flight duration you can do between 10 and 13 minutes. Climb up to about 9,500 feet, travel about 99 to 150-ish kilometers, etc. Things like that. And then if you want the full aircraft, full aircraft, uninstall the demo, and then you can purchase the aircraft. So you do get that bit of an option, which is really nice. System specifications or system requirements for this aircraft. Of course, you need X-Plane 11. You also need an Intel Core i5 6600K at 3.5 GHz or faster, or the AMD equivalent, probably a Ryzen 5. I would say a Ryzen 5, somewhere around there. Also running, I would say, a bit faster than 3.5 GHz, given how AMDs tend to run, depending on the generation, the Zen architecture you are on. 8 GB of RAM or more. Again, I recommend 16 GB. DX12 capable graphics card, whether it's NVIDIA, AMD, or anything like that. So you're probably looking at a 10 series. It's a 10 series graphics card, a minimum now for DX12. Maybe a 1060. You'll be looking at that, or I'm not sure what the AMD equivalent of a 1060 is. So you want at least 4 GB of RAM. Actually, that would be a 1070 then. And you need Windows 10. It does work on Windows 7, but I would recommend using Windows 10 now, and 2 GB of hard drive space. So I'll tell you what, instead of looking around this, let's go inside, and then I'll start reading a little bit more about the detailed description of this aircraft. Right, there we go. We are now inside the aircraft, so I'll maybe give you a... I was a bit wonky from my flight stick, joystick. There you go, that is probably a nicer view of the aircraft. So let's read a little bit about this. First of all, you can see just how old this aircraft is. It is from the 1990s. I believe they stopped production of this 2001. So it is a rather old aircraft. The newest of these aircraft is now 20 years old. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from the description and the detailed description on Just Flight's website, just as I always do, so you have an idea. Now, the detailed description is going to be rather long. So, this all-new and highly detailed simulation of the 146 regional jet has been developed after comprehensive hands-on research with the real-life aircraft Golf Juliet Echo Alpha Oscar, which retired from service with British European Airways in 2000 and is now preserved at the de Havilland Aircraft Museum and the CC Mark II and C Mark III aircraft of Royal Air Force 32nd Squadron, which is the Royal Squadron. So there you go. I'm not going to read too much about the history of this because there is a little bit to the history, but let's go into the detailed description because this is quite interesting and just shows why this has the professional name. So 8 variants of this 146 are included. You have the Dash 100, the Dash 200, this one which is the Dash 300, the Dash 200 QC and QT, which are cargo, the Dash 300 QT, which is cargo as well, the CC Mark II, which is an RAF aircraft VIP configuration, has some countermeasure pods as well, and the C Mark III, which is the cargo configuration with the countermeasure pods. Accurately modelled using real-world aircraft plans and comprehensive photography of the real aircraft, as I said, Golf Juliet Echo Alpha Oscar, as well as Zulu Echo 701 and Zulu Echo 708. Numerous animations including trailing edge flap surfaces, wing-mounted spoilers, tail-mounted air brake, ailerons and elevator features servo tabs, balanced free-floating control surfaces which are affected not only by the oncoming air but also by turbulence, side winds, up and down drafts, etc. during taxi or low-speed ground operations. So there is that detail to it that you can just see where the professional side is coming in. All passenger, service and cargo doors use custom animations and feature extra logic such as auto closure of doors above a certain speed. That's pretty neat. Windscreen wipers with individual left-right animations and independent speed controls. Distinctive retractable tricycle landing gear featuring complex trailing link shock-absorbing mechanism on the main gear, countermeasure pods, high-frequency aerial and more. So that is just the model. Now we'll go into the cockpit, which is where we are right now. A truly 3D cockpit environment, right down to accurately modelled seatbelts and screw heads. This is something that they write on pretty much all of their products, and it is true because, as you can see, we have seatbelts and we have screw heads. In fact, those are actually modelled. Okay, that's actual modelling on the screw heads down there. That's nifty. I was expecting that down there to be a texture, given how far away it is. Okay, that's another point up for Just Flight right there. Cockpit Textures feature wear and tear based on reference photos taken in the real aircraft to produce an authentic environment. There isn't too much wear and tear, so I do like that there isn't too much of it. Let's see. Captain, co-pilots and jump seat positions are modelled with hundreds of functional controls, including over, and this is where I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, including over 200 buttons, 100 switches and knobs with smooth animations, easy to use click spots and precision sounds. 200 buttons and 100 switches and knobs. That is a lot. And it just shows that this aircraft is rather old. Fully VR compatible, so for those of you who want to fly this in VR, it is fully compatible. Aircraft configuration system that will allow you to choose between cold and dark or engines running. These configurations can be customized via the manifest.json file. So there's a JSON file all that's going to be is a list of properties, and in those properties you can just edit things. It might be ones and zeros, might be trues and false, but the JSON file is easily editable in any notepad. Custom throttle lever logic. Fuel latch logic, which is compatible with hardware, avoiding jitters due to conflicting throttle positions. Customizable variation in throttle positions for added realism. Click spots for controlling all 4 levers simultaneously, etc. Right, so hang on a minute. So does mine control all 4? Well, it makes a noise. No idea what that noise is all about. But it does make a noise. Okay, we'll figure that one out soon. Functional crank handles on knobs such as altitude select and rudder trim, which is right there. You can see the rudder trim right there in front of us. So that is pretty neat. Let's see, what else do we have? Which allow for more intuitive, realistic and quicker operation, which is great. The realism is what I'm after here. Full support for command assignments, hardware and cockpit builders. So if you want to build a cockpit for your 146, you can. It's going to take a while to do it, that's for sure, but you can do that. All controls can be assigned to commands with tooltips on every click spot to indicate which command to use. How do I want to show tooltips. Maybe I have disabled tooltips? I have no idea. Okay. Let's see. Parameters such as smoothing animation, number of positions, attached data ref. Okay, so this is all about hardware and cockpit builders. I'm not going to go through all of that, but it's essentially telling you about how you can assign all of these controls to your whatever cockpit that you are going to build. Also, by the way, there's more up there. A lot more up there. There's your circuit breaker panel. Overhead panel has lots of switches, and then you've got all of these, all of those, and then guess what? You've even got more down on this side, both there and over there. So there is a lot on this aircraft. I don't think there's an engineer station. EFB tablet with door and call out controls with AviTab support. Right, okay, so all I've got to do is find the tablet. Would that be here? There it is. So there's a tablet and there's your AviTab. That is awesome. So we have AviTab on this, which means I can do my Navigraph charts and everything like that, which apparently I need to link my account again after 30 days. So I will probably have to go ahead and do that before I record the next video. So that's awesome. How do I get rid of it? I guess press that button. So clicking there brings it up, clicking there gets rid of it. Very, very nice. Of course, textures and liveries. PBR rendering, which is normal, or PBR materials, physically based rendering. This is now normal on all high quality products. So you've got realistic metallic, plastic and glass surfaces. Certain liveries feature more metallic or more rough finishes to match the real world materials on a per livery basis. That is rather neat. 4K textures are used to produce the highest possible texture clarity. External texture pixel density exceeds 330 pixels per meter. Very high for an airliner. So I tell you what, whilst we're here, let's take a look. You can see the reflections, by the way. And yep, there you go. I was going to say for a moment there that looked blurred, but look how close we can get to that, and it still maintains texture quality. That is pretty neat. So how close can we get over here? So it's about, I'd say, about there before you start really losing the texture quality. Maybe there is ideal, but that is really, really close. I mean, you're not going to be zooming in that much to an aircraft. That is really well done. We'll look a little bit more at the modelling and detailing in a moment. So let's go back inside. There we go. Oh. It takes a moment when you go inside. It takes a moment to respond. That is interesting. This is something I've noticed. Okay, So X-Plane texture quality slider reduces texture dimensions, and yep, that's fine. We know all about that. But textures are crucial for high-res clarity and legibility are protected. So what they've done is that textures that you need to be able to read, they have protected them so that the X-Plane slider is not going to affect them. What that does mean is that you may still have that performance impact from those textures. That's the negative. The positive is you're not going to be looking at things that are blurred and thinking, what does that say? And that is really clever. Authentic labeling and placards based on those found in the real aircraft. Well, I mean, there's one of the placards. Oh, okay, I clicked something there and it did something. I have no idea what it just did. It did something on the airspeed indicator. Right, okay. I'll just back away from that one right now. The 3D model intelligently reuses the same parts between aircraft variants, reducing download size and optimizing in-sim resource usage. So it is 3.6 gigabytes, I think, the download size. It is fairly large, but as it says, the different aircraft do use the same parts if they are suitable. Numerous optimization measures made to the aircraft's geometry, such as unloading parts that are not in view, contribute to the aircraft's FPS-friendly performance. In-house tests consistently yield between 70 and 135 FPS. That is pretty good. Is it Control-Shift F? Let's take a look. 50 FPS inside. I'm guessing 50. I'm on very high, very, very high settings. So that's pretty good. 50 on the ground is really good. And this is an Orbex. Okay, it's a bit 30s here, but this is an Orbex airport as well. So this is 50 on the ground, 60 there. That is very, very nice. Okay. 34 liveries. Now, 34 liveries plus a blank. I'm not going to go through all these liveries because there are so many of them. So I'm not going to go through all of them. They are, I'm just going to say how many of each. So for the 100, you have 2, 4, 6, 8 liveries. For the 200, you have 7 liveries. For the 200 cargo, you have 2. For another 200 cargo, the other type of 200 cargo, you have 3. For the 300, which is what this one is, you have 2, 4, 6, 7. For the 300 cargo, you have 3. And then for the RAF ones, you have 3. So for the Mark II, you have 2. For the Mark III, you have 1. There you go. Sounds wise, so sounds, again, something we're going to have to look into. Studio quality engine sounds recorded from the RAF Mark III aircraft. Over 450 flight deck sound effects recorded from the Mark II. Detailed audio equipment such as APU brake fans, electrical circuits, hydraulic equipment, and more. Distinctive flap retraction extension airflow howling sound. More than 520 sound samples in high definition with accurate 3D placement. This is really good for VR. Pushing the limits of the FMOD system, with more than 150 soundtracks being played at the same time. That is impressive. Full 7.1 surround sound support via FMOD, with 3D positional sound for VR, of course. Extremely detailed external sound system, takes into account distance, speed, altitude, temperature, and air pressure. Just like real life, accurate touchdown sound based on impact speed, multi-directional sound during flyby and camera location on external views, realistic runway roll sounds complete with periodic bumps, realistic wind sound that reacts not only to the speed of the aircraft but how the aircraft is interacting, or how the wind is interacting with the fuselage. So you're talking about angle of attack, side slip, all of those kind of things, whether you're skidding the aircraft as well. Realistic ambient sounds, which replace the default X-Plane sounds with a high fidelity FMOD sound system, recreating the atmospheric effects such as rain, birds, thunder. I wonder if they've got rain effects on here. Interior and cabin sounds, passenger sounds based on aircraft weight, which reacts according to your flying style. Passenger cabin sound changes as you move around, as if you were inside the real plane. This is really well done. If the pilot view is on the pilot side, the system volumes comm, nav and marker volumes will match the pilot audio selector volumes. If it's on the co-pilot side, they will follow that audio control panel. Very nice. Co-pilot callouts during all phases of flight from takeoff to landing. Realistic cabin crew sounds that can be triggered via the EFB tablet. Cockpit door sound effect, which changes the in-cockpit atmosphere, echoes and resonance. Structural sounds are simulated, whether it's G-loads or turbulence. Accurate wing buffeting sound when approaching stall. This is very, very detailed. It says, hello? Okay. Attention to details such as ratcheting knob sounds that aren't simply loop-based, but rather follow the detents or ratchets of the knob or toggle buttons that push slightly further in before settling into their toggle position. Accurate engine startup, cockpit systems and radio interference sounds, and more, with over 6,000 lines of code for the sound system alone and over 170 different layered sound classes and behaviors. They have really, really gone all out with the sounds. Flight dynamics. Developers work closely with real BAe 146 pilots to capture the field of the real aircraft's flight behavior. Just Flight do this very well. Cruise speeds precisely tuned to the real aircraft's performance charts. Accurate pitch attitudes based on configuration and weight, which allow for the characteristic slight nose down attitude at approach speeds. If you've ever seen this aircraft coming into any airport, you will notice that it always looks like it is actually pointing downwards, particularly when considering something like London City Airport, where it's a steep descent. This aircraft looks like it is pointing downwards. I've seen this aircraft quite a few times doing that. Let's see. Accurate engine thrust curves and drag profiles allow realistic time to climb and performance. That's interesting. Powerful flaps that require retrimming while extending and retracting, just like the real aircraft. This is going to be a massive learning curve for me to fly an aircraft like this. Takeoff and landing speed card, which automatically displays reference speed depending on current aircraft weight. That is this one here. I'm waiting. I want to see how that changes. So that changes dynamically depending on what you have put in, which is clever. Set the number of passengers, cargo weights and fuel weights using the EFB. Okay, great. Now I'm very quickly going to go through the systems. We're already 25 minutes in. I'm still talking about what features are on this aircraft. That is how insane this professional aircraft is so far. Systems, custom coded aircraft systems with a high degree of complexity and depth, including, and I'm not going to go through all of this in depth because there is a lot. So, air conditioning and pressurization system, auto flight system, flight management computer with a custom FMC coming soon. So right now they're working on the X-Plane FMC. A custom FMC is coming soon. A communication system, electrical systems, fire protection system, flight control, fuel system, hydraulic system, ice and rain protection system, indicating and recording systems, landing gear, navigation system, oxygen system, pneumatic systems, APU, doors and stairs, power plant and lighting. So those are all the custom coded systems. Just to give you an example of what is in this, let's go for one from each. So aircon and pressurization system. Here we go. Let's read this one. Automatic and manual pressurization modes with control of outflow valves, barometric and cabin rate settings, indications and cabin altitude warnings. Auto flight system. Let's see. Autopilot and flight director system with multiple modes such as pitch, roll, V-block, B-block, L-nav through the FMC, heading, turbulence mode, pitch and bank selection and hold, sync mode for quick changes to aircraft altitude. There you go. Simulated Cat 2 approach monitoring system. Flight management computer, as I said, custom FMC coming soon, but it does support arrival departure procedures and instrument approaches, supports pop-out windows. Communication system, dual VHF comm, nav and ADF radios. There's an example of that. Electrical system, generator and TRU loading and automatic load switching. There's one of them. Fire protection system, engine APU and fuselage fire detection and warning system, as well as the extinguishing system and simulated test functionality. Flight controls, servo tab simulation, taking into account winds, microbursts and turbulence. Elevator and aileron surface position is dependent on servo tab control inputs and airflow over the surface. Fuel system, let's see. Simulated electrical, normal and hydraulic standby fuel pumps, center and wing tanks with feed tanks for each engine and LP and HAP fuel cock, so that's low pressure and high pressure. Hydraulic system. Independent yellow and green hydraulic systems with realistic pressure, quantity and supply to other systems. Again, I'm just picking one from each of these. There are multiple. Ice and rain protection system. Simulation of separate inner and outer wing anti-icing and windscreen overheating. Indicating and recording systems. Flight data entry panel for entering flight details. Date, flight leg, number. That's the FDEP. Landing gear. Simulated brake accumulators supplied via the hydraulic power sources, yellow or green, anti-skid and brake temperature indicator with cooling down periods that are affected by ambient temperature, brake usage and brake fans. You can switch on brake fans on this to cool the brakes. Navigation system. Wow. Dual RMI, DBI and HSI navigation instruments fed by 2 NAV and ADF radios. Instrument selector source for NAV1, NAV2 or dual navigation via the ADI, HSI or autoflight system. It also has a different kind of VSI, which I will show you momentarily. Oxygen system. Flight, crew and passenger oxygen systems with valve and mask deployment controls. Pneumatic system, realistic bleed air, APU, RPM, TGT and fuel burn values, all based on real world data with the realistic APU start and shutdown. Doors and stairs, of course, we've got the animations. I'm not going to go too much into that. Power plant. N1, N2, TGT, oil pressures and temperature will all differ subtly between engines. So you have a variation on each engine. So it isn't just one set of code going to all the engines. There is a variation. Actually, I think it is one set of code, and then they probably add in a variation. There, look, random engine throttle variation in the manifest.json. I'm assuming it reads that value in and then uses that randomizer to bring those values up and down. Lighting. Full HDR lighting with gimbaled lights that can be aimed and dynamically illuminate whichever part of the cockpit it is aimed at. That is neat. Other features, comprehensive manual. It has a massive manual, 250-ish pages, with FMC, and then there's an FMC guide, which is the X-Plane one. All the procedures, limitations and handling notes, payload manager, Avitab compatible, multiple exterior and interior viewpoint presets, and of course you can get the PSD paint kits if you want to make your own livery. So there you go. That is all the detail on this aircraft. You can see why it is a professional aircraft. That has taken a long time for me to talk about. I do apologise if that was a little bit boring, but I think it is important to, when reviewing a product like this or going through even first impressions, I believe it is important to read out these things so that you guys know why it is £55. Is it £55? £60? Hang on a minute. It's £55. So you have to know why it is £55. These are the features that are supplied. So for the next part, what I'm going to do is get rid of that. What I'm going to do is take a look at the aircraft, and let's go into the static no, not that. There we go. Let's go into the static camera, or sorry, free camera. Let's take a good look at the modeling. We'll start with the outside, then we'll go into the inside. So modeling and texturing on the outside. Let's take a look. So we've already seen a little bit of it. So I'm going to start with the wheels because they were talking a lot about this landing gear and how that is. So I want to see what the wheels look like. They're fairly decently detailed. I mean, all of that is detailed quite well. There's textures on the, I mean, I can read that. Those are Bridgestone tyres. I can make out the make of the tyre on this particular aircraft, and that is pretty neat. Is it easier to read on this side, perhaps? Not so easy. I think what they have done though is they have just got the texture and flipped it, so that's okay. I suppose what they could do is they could replace the wheel, the texture, invert the texture again, and then that would be okay. There is some writing there that I cannot quite read. There's some writing there as well that I cannot quite read. That doesn't seem to be coming into focus. But as I said, realistically, that is probably about as close as you're going to be getting. So in terms of modelling, there's a lot outs here. So you've got your static ports, your pitot tubes. They're modelled very nicely. The engines look fantastic. Oh dear, that was very quick. The engines look really well done. So I'm just going to take a bit of a closer look at these engines. There we go. They are really, really well done. You can see through them quite nicely. You see the writing there. Engine starter oil tells you that as well. The connection to the strut. I forgot what they call it. The engine mounting strut. Yeah, the engine mounting strut is really well detailed as well. Extinguisher relief indicator. I want to see if that actually changes colour at any point. Fire access. Very nicely done. This, I just realised that these engines do not have the swirl that tells you when the engine's running. That is interesting. Having a look at this landing gear, I'm assuming this is the landing gear that we're talking about. This is incredibly complicated. I mean, just taking a look at the way this landing gear is designed. That is an engineering masterpiece, if I do say so. It's a very well designed landing gear, and they've got everything on this. I mean, you can even see the thread there on that particular connection. Right there, and the hydraulic pistons and the cable for the hydraulic lines. That is very well done. I mean, they didn't have to go into the detail just here, for example. Normal mapping, as usual, is great. You can just see the normal mapping there. So for those people who may not know what normal mapping is, it is a flat texture, and then you assign another texture onto it, which tells the program, whatever it is, the renderer, in this case the Vulkan API renderer, how to read that when light hits it. So in this case, what it's saying is that though this is a flat texture, you can see there, when light hits these certain areas, it wants to bounce the light in a different way, giving it a simulation of it not being flat, so of it being a bumpy surface, or a specific part that's being pushed in or extruded. So in these rivets case, I suppose it's everything's slightly bumped in, and you can see that there, you can see that along here, you can see that there very clearly. And it is, these tiny little things do make a difference, believe it or not. They do make a difference when you're looking at this, and if it all looked flat, you would notice. There are a lot of rivets here. That is a lot of rivets. Right. Let's go up to the top of the tail, I suppose. There we go. Let's have a look at this stabilizer. That is really nice. Can I just move? I can. There you go. That is really, really nice. Can I move the the rudder? No. Notice something here. Is that? Oh no, that's my movement on the ailerons. So these are, it looks like I'm only moving I've got partial control. Obviously, once the hydraulics are up, I would probably have a lot more control over the stabilizer, the trim tab, the ailerons, things like that, the flaps, etc. Incredibly highly detailed model. Let's have a look at this over here. These look like the APU exhausts. Is that the APU exhaust? Yep, APU exhaust. There you go. Right there. Interesting how that APU exhaust pops out instead of coming out the back of the aircraft, as you see on Airbus and Boeing. It comes out the side. I believe that is because this part of the aircraft opens up as an air brake. So I think that is the reason. And also, it looks like this entire section can open up perhaps to put cargo in, maybe? If you had a cargo variant, that looks like something that they would do. One thing I have noticed, it's a very tiny thing, but you can see that just around the windows, so where they've got these rounded windows, I think there's a slight pinch point on the modelling, just there and there on each window, and that slight pinch point does make it, you can see that when the light hits it just right, it does give it a slightly weird shading, but realistically that isn't anything I would be concerned about. It's the tiniest of tiny things, and to fix that, to fix something like that, you would in fact that one might need fixing. That one there might need fixing. You could probably do that with a normal map. So would that one. And in fact, there's a slight bug just here with the modeling where there's a seam and you can see it's open. So there you go. Just like if you're watching that, there's that. Just for something for you to fix. Anyway, aside from that, this looks really nice. Please tell me that gives me a slide. Is that going to give me a slide when I open that? It is an emergency exit. That's awesome. There's the slide. Can I do anything with the slide? Oh, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate, but never mind. There you go. That is very well animated though. So that just gives you an idea of some of the animations on this aircraft. So that is from the outside. Let's take another look inside and we'll see what we can see here. So one thing that I think I cannot do, yeah, that's what I was flicking. I cannot get rid of the yoke. Can I? Ah, yes I can. It's at the bottom, right. So to get rid of the yoke, you'll have to press at the bottom of the panel and that gets rid of the yoke. That is generally pretty good when you're flying without VR so that you can see, I mean, just look at that. You don't know what's behind there, any of these. It doesn't get too much in the way, as you can see, but if you did want to fly without, just click there and it is gone. Okay. Inside, the modelling is really well done, as you would expect. There is some, as they had the wear and tear. I would love to see these new. That would be awesome, as if you're just flying a brand new aircraft. That changes dynamically. This is your Enunciator panel. We will be seeing a lot of that in the coming videos. That is the current X-Plane FMC. Obviously, the custom one is still in production. That there is a working weather radar, so that is pretty awesome as well. I'm trying to just see if I can recognize everything that I can see. Throttles for all 4 engines. It has been a very long time since I have flown a four-engined aircraft, so this is going to be interesting to say the least. We've got our air brake. Let's bring the air brake out. Let me see if that air brake is what I think it is. I thought something opens at the back for an air brake. No, maybe? It's a weird click though. Oh, there's lifts for there. There's an out. What does that do? Nothing. Maybe we have to have hydraulic lines up and running for the air brake to run. Fair enough. I'm sure we'll be able to get that running when we get a chance. So there you go. We have a flap controls there. We have our rudder trim. Let's take a closer look over here. This looks like our parking brake. Yep. Pull to park on yellow. There you go. This is our aileron and elevator. This I have seen. I believe this is a disconnect for when, I think if something gets stuck, you can pull that to disconnect and then it will sort of free up the slider. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll be going over that when I start flying the aircraft. Aileron trim there. Some, what's that, panel lighting. Yep, panel lighting. Config check. Cool. Horn cancel right there. Lovely. Some indicators for your elevator and aileron trim. We have these that just looks like it's showing your rudder and elevator trim. Pitch trim right there. There's some rudder. Well, if that's rudder trim, then what's that? Interesting. That's something to look at. Maybe both of them work together. That is your transponder unit. Also, I believe that you can put this into a different mode. I think is it FD, and then you can put in your your what do you call it, your flight number in there as well. Brake temperature's there, and that allows you to have your brake fans, I believe. That's test. That allows you to put on brake fans. So that is pretty nifty. Interesting with the test, it's flickering. Maybe that's because of the battery. ADF, of course, very simple. And then some more lighting over here. Cabin secured landing, cabin secured takeoff. That's an interesting little thing. Emergency landing gear lever here. How do I open that one up? Okay. I know there's got to be a way to open this up. Open. Open. Okay, I cannot open that one for some reason. Never mind. I'm sure we'll get around to checking that at some point. Really nice texturing in here, by the way. It's very, very nice. These seats actually look somewhat comfortable. Anyway, let's just move forward and take a look at our main panel. So over here we have our attitude indicators, as you would expect. We also have our let's see, we've got our HSI there, another HSI there, airspeed indicator there and there, altimeter there. So it's a single, there's a second altimeter, standby altimeter, looks like it's that one. We have the VSI. Now this we can change. I believe if I click here and click that, there you go. So it changes to one with TCAS display, and then we've got our backup VSI on that side. Radio altimeter there. So this allows us to set our decision height and those kind of things. We have the what do you call it? I forgot what they call it already. This here. So it's not just a direction indicator. Why does that keep doing that? I'm trying to figure out what that is. Okay, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Yes, there are some terms here that I'm not used to. I keep forgetting what it's called. Is it ADI or D something like that? Anyway, DBI. That's it. DBI. So this is it gives us our direction indicator, but it's also distance bearing indicator as well. That is why you have the DMEs on that. Obviously you've got a clock. I believe you can use this to change time in game as well, which is pretty nifty. That is really, really clever. Then you've got your hydraulic there. There's your yellow and green hydraulics. This is all your engine information. So you can see you've got your TGT, your N2s, your N1s, your fuel flows, your FF. You've also got your oil quantity and temperature and pressure for all of your engines. So that is really good. And the fuel in your tanks. So 3 tanks. There's your fuel. 26,000 foot altitude limitation applies in icing. There you go. You've got your flap controls over here, or flap indicator, sorry, over here. So you can see 0, 18, 24, 30 and 33 degrees of flap. No idea at all why it's that. I have no idea what this is. I have yet to work this one out, and similarly I have no idea what this roll spoiler is all about, but I'm not sure what this is. I will figure it out soon. But apparently there is a test. It says VIB-N. Now that to me just reads as vibration for something maybe. Gear lever right there. Obviously your placard is there. This is your sync and your auto throttle controls, I believe. So that's takeoff, descent for specific temperature, sync to make sure all 4 engines are synced, to make it easier to control them, etc. Another little just mini warning panels there. And then of course up here you've got your rest of your autopilot system. So you've got your nav radio over here, you've got your course, your altitude selector, and there's your other nav radio on this side. Flight director bars there and there, pretty easy. And then you've got your warnings over here. Looking up, you've also got a compass, you've got your light controls, your wiper controls, your seatbelt signs, your emergency lights. There's your, I have no idea what that wash is. Screen wash? Yep, sure. Fine. We'll say that screen wash. Here is your APU and engine generators right there. You've got all your electrical panel all the way down here, your fuel panel all the way down here, so your pumps and of course your fuel tanks and all of that kind of stuff, your fuel temperatures, cross feeds all over here. This one here is your APU, this one just up at the top here. Obviously if you're used to flying a Boeing, they're normally down there. The APU is up here on this one, so there's your temperatures and things like that. Your engine controls are over here. Your ice protection is directly underneath your engine controls. Your ice protection for the wings is next to your engine ice controls and engine controls. Your air supply is on this side, as I think that just tends to be where they have it in general. Your pressurization's right there. Air conditioning packs and everything are over here. Your ground test, so I guess we'll do that when things are on. Your test switches are over here. Other lights are over here, so your strobe, nav, beacons, things like that are over here. These lights are just runway and landing lights. Fire controls, fire handles up here. Important to know where they are. And then on this side we've got some additional hydraulic information and switches and some miscellaneous ones and anti-skid. So your yaw dampers, your avionics master switches up here, and your anti-skid and lift spoilers up there. Is that everything? I'm just trying to figure out if that's everything. I think so. I think that was everything. And like I said, right at the top are all of your circuit breakers. So that is, I think that's everything in this aircraft. I'm not sure I've missed anything. Oh no, I have. How do I move? Oh look, a cup holder. An all important cup holder. One thing that this is a little bit difficult to get to. I've got to check what's down here. So some more lighting over here, and this is the volume controls, it looks like. Yep, that's the volume controls. So you can switch, for example, switch off markers, or switch on markers, switch off markers. That's fine. Okay, that makes sense. And then we've got a cockpit voice recorder over here. No idea what that is. Okay, fine. And then let's see, anything else I sort of missed? No, on that side it just looks like the same panel. Actually, that's a different panel, isn't it? Oh boy, what is that panel now? Is that where we select the day? Day, month, flight leg, flight number. Okay, so that is something that can be done, and we can turn that, which is really fancy. So that is used for something, and we'll have a better look at that. But yes, that looks like that is everything on this aircraft. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to end this video. As I said, it has been a long video, but before I switch it off, to end the video, let's go ahead and open some of the doors, bring some of these in, and I'll show you things with the doors open and the stairs open. You can change the units right here. That was awesome. That was really neat. So we could do this, and we could fill whatever we wanted in the tanks, and you can see that it changes what's on here. And the AVI tab comes up on that side as well. Very neat. And we can have things like this, whatever this is. I can hear people. Really? Open the door. That's awesome. And that's a British Airways. Oh. Struggling a little bit. That's a British Airways, those are British Airways seats. How fancy. Really, really well done. Let's go outside. Oh, that's still fairly good quality. And there you go. You can see that's how things are detailed. You've got your stairs to climb up. There's your other door. Your service door for your cargo. Rear cargo. There you go. That is really well done. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a screenshot of this so that I've got it for my thumbnail. I wonder if Alt and F1 will work in this. It does. Great. So that is where I'm going to end it. As I said, there is a lot to digest on this. So far we've only covered what this aircraft has and the modelling and texturing. In the next video, I'm going to be looking at starting this aircraft up. We're going to be looking at taxiing the aircraft out and taking it off into the air. And then after that, we'll be looking at cruise, approach, descent, approach, landing, and my final thoughts. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I do apologise for it being a little bit rambly, but there is so much information on this aircraft, and I wanted to make sure that all of you are aware as to perhaps why it costs as much as it does. So far, I am rather impressed, but of course, there's 3 parts to this review. I want to be fair. I want to see all 3 parts before I make that final decision for myself. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for parts 2 and 3 of this review. Leave a comment in the comments box below. Have you picked up this aircraft? Did you think that's when I was talking about the features? What were your thoughts on the price? Do you think that that's a good price for it? Or do you think that it's still too expensive? Or do you think that it's great value for money? At the moment, I'm thinking this is pretty good value for money, but I would like to hear your thoughts. If you've picked up this aircraft, please do also let me know. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Link is in the description box below. I'd massively appreciate that. And also you can find me on social media at ECGadgetsLB for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in X-Plane 11, where, as I said, we're going to be starting up this aircraft and we're going to be taking it off, taxiing and take off and climb out, and let's see what this aircraft can actually do. I'll see you then.